Hi everyone, welcome to On the Other Hand. I'm Ariane Zurcher, and this video is all about layering and how I approach it, why do it, how I do it, what I particularly like about layering, not just to create a more dynamic sculpture or piece, but also because it has a deeper meaning. Also just some storytelling. I'll turn you around and we'll get started. One of the things I'm doing is I'm cutting out a shape that I want to fill. And I'm doing it really loose because the beauty of the screen is you can bunch it up. And then I'm laying out my materials over and I'm creating layers here. So I'm finding little bits of things that I want to use and add. So I kind of like that. And I think I'll do it like this. And I'm going to then stitch this down. And I'm going to build layers here to fill this screen. And this is the bit that I've cut out because it's going over this circle here of wire. When I was little, my parents bought a painting and they told me that the painter, who was a friend of theirs, and this is how they knew it, had originally painted a sphinx, but he wasn't happy with it, and so he painted over it. So fascinated by that idea that here was this abstract piece that had sort of a silver background with this very unfinished vertical shape. Layers, to me, hold so much more than just texture, and it adds depth and it adds color and it adds all these other interesting dimensions. But in addition, I've always been drawn to the idea of something beneath the surface. There's this idea of what lies underneath. And not just in art, or in architecture too. You know, these, especially in New York where we live, it was all white. And I had them strip the white paint off of the bricks in our bedroom to reveal these beautiful original bricks that have interesting texture. I love this kind of stripping of layers and seeing what's beneath, or even just a glimpse of what's beneath. You know, you can apply this to life too, right? Here's the thing about shapes. You want to make sure that you have shapes that are different. You don't want all the exact same shape and just sort of throwing it around, because it's going to be not very interesting. So you want different shapes, you want different sizes. On this sphere, I've layered in fragments of text. So you can see I've added "to love" and "dare to explore." Okay, so why? Well, I was drawn to those because love feels even more important right now. And "dare to explore" is a reminder of how I like to live. There's another one, which is "remain curious," but I couldn't find it in any of my fabrics. So I might add that, either stitched or handwritten, to part of the sphere that I haven't finished yet. I don't know, maybe. But I'm just going to play around with that idea. And then I'm going to add this to my screen template and I'll apply it to the sphere. And then I'm going to kind of look at it because I'm getting very close to finished with this sphere. I added a lot of rooted woven art materials, which I just find so luscious and beautiful. Here's the thing about using silk throwster. I love using silk throwster. It's one of my go-to materials, and the reason I like it so much is because it's great at blurring edges, at blurring hard lines, at creating a sort of softer transition, and also it adds a kind of wonderful texture and dimension. So it's one of the materials that I use over and over and over. One thing about working with this screen is it really does kind of rip up my hands. And I don't like to wear gloves because I just don't like having that material between me and the and what I'm working with. So I'm just dealing with it, but it's a little tough on the hands. especially this where I'm cutting out a template. So I've got this whole edge here, and it's just, I'm getting cut up. As you can see, I'm really getting cut up, but that's okay. I thought of taping the whole edge, but I'm too lazy to do that because that would do it. Just put a piece of tape on the edge and it wouldn't be able to rip up my skin so much. So what I'm doing here is I am adding a layer of stitching. I was thinking, I wondered if I could do this on the machine, but I think that mesh, it would break the needles. I haven't tried. I could, because I have some old needles that I don't care if they break. Just see what happens. I might try that in a little while. But for now, I'm just adding this layer of hand stitching, which is also has the dual purpose of not just creating another layer, but also it's adhering the material to the screen. And around this circle, I'm going to be putting, this is more of rooted woven art. This material, which I just love. And I'm going to do that, but that's going to go onto the frame. So I'm going to wait with that, but that's my plan. And right now, I'm just going to keep doing this. And I do keep my pliers handy so that if it gets too challenging, I can pull with the pliers. I can pull this one out. I don't have to do a lot here, but I do have to adhere it enough so that when I scrunch this, it doesn't bubble up, that the material stays with the screen and doesn't separate. Well, guess what? You can machine sew this screen on. So that's what I did. And it's a lot quicker, especially if you don't need hand stitching on here, which I don't. Layers remind us that what's hidden isn't lost, right? It's still part of the story. Just because we don't see it or can't see it or can only see fragments of it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It still exists. It's still there. And that, there's a real beauty to that. I was so surprised that I was able to machine stitch through the screen on here. And that was such a great reminder that if you don't try stuff, even things that you don't think are going to work, try it anyway and see, because sometimes you're wrong. So that was such a great example of that. Thinking, oh, there's no way that's going to work. And then thinking, well, you know what? What's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to break a machine needle. And that's a needle that was old anyway, and I was about to replace it. So why not try it and see what happens? And then it worked. And because it worked, it saved me a huge amount of time. It adhered all of this so that I didn't have to go and do a lot of hand stitching that I wasn't sure I even wanted to do. And now I'm on to this next part, which is adhering this screen, the material covered screen, onto this next section of my sphere, which is great. This material is not from Rooted Woven Art. It's from another company, and I cannot remember where I got it or even the name. If I find it, I'll put the link in the description area. Okay, so this sphere is about 3/4 finished, and I'm already thinking about my third sphere, which I'm going to call, so far, this is what I'm planning, What Remains. And so stay tuned. If you like what you see, keep exploring with me.